Purvisha and I have been developing this project called Forutune, Tellus. We launched it at Earth Day for the Appetite for Justice event, and we're developing it further. So we're just going to take you through it with a demonstration. But first of all, we'll talk a little bit about the creative process. So this is myself and Purvisha. This was us on Earth Day. I'm not sure if any of you were there, but we had our table up. So we're both second year students on innovation management, soon to be graduating, have just done our dissertation. So I was writing about deep narrative change, and Purvisha was writing about futures and foresight. So what we wanted to do with this project was bring it together in a bit more of an engaging way, that people who perhaps don't have the theoretical context in those fields could engage with ideas that would help them to embody the future and to understand it a bit more in a more personal way. So we were really inspired by this quote from Rilke, that the future enters into us in order to transform itself in us long before it happens. So the context, I guess, of this experience is that it happens before any action can take place. So for any change makers who are looking to transform the world, we're really interested in regenerative principles. So we started looking at regenerative design, systems thinking, and intertwining that with futures to turn it into an experience which you can follow along, and then take that into you, because we feel we have a lot of the information we need, we have a lot of the technology we need to overcome our crises, but actually we're lacking quite a lot of creativity and imagination. So it's a card toolkit, and there are 4 decks of cards. There are archetypes, energies, visions, and narratives. So in the archetypes, it's essentially your functional role that you take into the space. The vision cards are broad what-if questions to give you a setting and a context. The energy cards are active words, so they sort of give a plurality of ways that you can make change happen. And then the narrative cards have 2 contrasting value systems that you can use as a lens to look through the visual world that you're building. So we're not going to go much more into it. We'd love to invite a small group of people if you'd like to come and have a go with us. Purvisha is going to facilitate. So perhaps if there are 4 or 5 people who'd like to come up and have a conversation. Any more? You're welcome. And then I'll click along on screen as well, so those of you who aren't in the conversation, hopefully you can watch, listen in, and we'll be around if you want to speak to us or try it again another time. So I'll hand over to Purvisha.
Thank you. Okay, so we've been testing out a couple of ways to do this, and today we're going to try the group setting. So we're going to start with the archetypes, which goes like this. So you can choose, I'm going to choose an archetype for you guys, which is quite a flip side on the tarot, where you get to choose the cards. Today we're going to do it other way, where I'm going to choose one. And then, do you have the... sorry, is that better? Okay. So I'm going to choose pollinator for everybody. And can I get that? Yeah. Do you want to probably read it out loud, what it says?
Yes. I collect inspiration from the unlikeliest places, and it is my mission to redistribute hope wherever I go.
That sounds right. Perfect. So archetype is the role that you guys would be taking in today, going into this journey. And then we'll be picking up an energy card, which is the energy that you bring to the vision, which we will unveil in the next step. So that is going to be the energy, the type of energy that you combine and make connection with your archetype, that is the pollinator. So I'm going to just pick up a random card of energy. So your energy is the energy of beginning. We have a quote over here, which just is not directly related to the active verb, but it's just sort of an inspiration. So it says, small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. So now that you have the archetype, you are a pollinator, and you bring the energy of beginning, do you see a sort of connection between these two? And if you would like to comment on that. Do you see like how as a pollinator you could begin things?
Yes, so if I'm collecting inspiration from unlikeliest of places and distributing it wherever I go, so when I meet various people, I can then be essentially the person who helps them start and possibly empower them to feel that they can begin whatever act is necessary. They're very relevant to my project. Wait for the next presentation.
Great. Do any of you feel like you have felt yourselves probably even to be a pollinator and you have started this journey of like beginning something new? You're heading, you're nodding. Oh, you wanna?
Yes, I think that the archetype of pollinator resonates very much with me, and probably with most of us in culture and enterprise, because I think they're all interdisciplinary programs and we're all interested in collecting things from a variety of sources, just like a bee or a pollinator would do with different kinds of plants, cross-pollinating. And then, yes, whenever you cross-pollinate, you create new beginnings, so that resonates.
No, I was only gonna say that it's just as well something that you sort of do every day, sometimes involuntarily. Just like it's very human as well to do that. It's such an impulse, and I think it's important that we listen to that voice. I don't know.
Great. So then we can move on to the vision question, which is a what if question, which is you don't necessarily need to have an answer for that. It's just like a provocation to make you think and just think in a different direction. So I'm going to pick one which says, everything you need is within 15 minutes of walking distance from your home. What would your day look like? So this is the concept of like a 15-minute city wherein everything you need, like your groceries, your workplace, everything is within 15 minutes of walking or cycling distance. So now you imagine the role of a pollinator and you bring this energy of beginnings. How do you see yourself in this future where everything is within 15 minutes? So it's just like if it brings immediate thoughts to you, yeah, go ahead.
When you say immediate 15 minutes, the first thing that comes to my mind is going to my room and just putting on my virtual reality headsets, which I think probably could be not even 15, I would say just 10 minutes away and plus 5 to troubleshoot it. And then that would be the beginning and the access to the world. So I think that would be like, as a pollinator, I see it as an opportunity that I would have to pass on and not just like limit it to, you know, the access that I have. So it would be like getting on the virtual reality headset and just diving into the world. That's about it, and exploring it. Yeah, I do back home.
Well, and similarly, the other side of the coin is also that for global reach, I think in borderlessness, exactly. But another version of that is 15-minute city or 15-minute opportunity to begin in 15 minutes means you have a very strong community. So it's really all about you're with the right people, in the right environment, you know, you're all connected, and you can make change happen faster. So it's also about communities that are quite activated.
That's quite really interesting of how when the community is connected, really things get really quickly done. Yes.
I just wanted to add to that because I think that's something that I personally try to do a lot. Like I love walking, and I like going to like a market and I think it's important as especially as a pollinator to like create I don't know, when I like going to, let's say, buy bread or cakes, because I like sweet things, and just like talking to the person who's working them, knowing them, or for example, right next to where I live, there's someone who every morning, like, he has his own, how do you say, like, he plants things, and he like sells them, and I like talking with him, and I don't know, I think it's really nice, and it definitely makes you feel so much better. I don't know, yeah. So I think it's important.
Definitely, it brings back, like, if the community is close-knit, you know, the ideas in that sense just pollinate, and then you connect with each other really well. And if it's everything is within 15 minutes, the connections are just really that much stronger. Any of you have any thoughts?
I don't know. The first thing that happened when you said the 15-minute city in relation to this, I just felt like it felt really good physically. Like it felt really comfortable. Like I liked the feeling of having things accessible and that sense of community that, I don't know, coming from Los Angeles, even London in general feels like that for me, and it feels really good physically, like to be able to walk to things, to have these sort of small groupings of towns in the city. So I've already experienced that being here, and I think it lends itself to all of these ideas. So I like it.
Would you like to?
I think it also can be environmentally friendlier and like more support for small and medium enterprises, because then you're just buying from local people. I think it can also, I guess, serve as an opportunity for human connection that we're losing in the hustle and bustle of being on the train all day and sort of like running around. And I guess when you see less people running around, you feel less part of the race that a lot of people don't want to be in it but are just like in it. So I think it can be just a calmer way of life in general.
Thank you. So yeah, definitely, it's just a more closer-knit community, and things are all looking good when there's that 15-minute city with us. So now the last part. Do we have time for that? Yes, please.
Yeah, sorry. Just to tie that off, just to be critical, because we're always told to be critical, I think it's interesting thinking of the pollinator in such a small or a local environment. In the conversation I've been having with quite a lot of people recently is this idea of like designing yourself out of the system, and actually thinking that in a local environment, in that pollinator role, maybe there's only so far you can go before you have to kind of transport to another kind of environment to pollinate. And so I think that's quite interesting, and it's just sparked that in me, that there might come a natural time where you've done as much pollinating as you can do here, and then you're needed somewhere else. So accepting your own redundancy at some point, I think, is a humility that we probably all need to have. But yeah, thanks.
That was a quite good counter view. Do we have time for that? Perfect. So we can go to the narratives. So I'm going to pick a random narrative, which is amazing, reductionism and holism. So we can look at this what-if question through the lens of either reductionism and holism. So what if the 15-minute city, we live everything right now the way things are, it's all, we see everything in parts. What would happen if we see these things connected? So when we're talking about connected communities, connected everything within 15 minutes, it's more holistic. So it's just more of putting these scenarios through these two narratives and what it brings up to you. So if any of you have, yeah?
I would continue my chain of thought where I said that it would be putting off a virtual reality headset again. And I mean, if you look at it in a way, it would be such a community where we don't need passports to travel. I mean, the entire idea of nationalism will be, blurred. And that's one of the reasons where I really look forward for. So I think that would be such a strong community where I just want to enter to a different space, and I don't need like formal documents and all of that formal work, where passports, like for adding to what Fatima said, that some countries, the third world countries who have like difficulty in traveling, it will be so much open and good, so it will be very whole. So yeah, that just came to my mind.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's a whole holistic system where we don't just look at one part, but then we look at the whole things, how everything is affected by your one action. And especially in 15, when we're living in a smaller neighborhood of like 15 minutes, you are becoming more conscious of the actions that you take. So any more thoughts that it triggers?
I guess kind of just to carry on from my earlier train of thought, like it's not just looking at the one you're in, it's looking at how all of these 15-minute, because presumably that is how the network is then built, and then not just thinking, well, how's this one functioning and how's that one functioning, but how are they functioning together and that broader network. So yeah, that's just kind of the next step of my thinking.
Yeah, and to continue that, I think there's two ways of looking at it. From a holistic point of view, that the community would be self-sustaining and have everything it needs. So it is a functioning unit, separate from whatever dramatic things might be happening outside of it, for example, if it's an eco-village or whatever. And similarly, though, but in the reductionist way as well, looking at it from that point of view, it is a community that has removed the distractions and things that are taking away the energy from whatever the objective is. So similarly, we don't need this, and this. Yeah, so the community is quite focused and can probably do more with less if the resources are well distributed.
Should we? Any thoughts? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.